Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and co-creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk about what a secure relationship looks like in each of the 6 stages of a relationship. So this is a question I've been asked so many times inside of our school. So I just finished actually doing a webinar about it, and we are launching a course upcoming about this as well, sort of what the secure relationship looks like. And adding a module to our course. We also just launched our advanced fearful avoidant course, like how the fearful avoidant attachment style operates in each of the 6 stages of the relationship. We just launched it at the end of this month. So this is sort of a big topic, and this has come up a lot, so I wanted to make a video specifically to answer your questions. So what I'm going to tell you about this video is sort of at a high level what the 6 stages of the relationship are and what we generally tend to see as the timelines in these stages. So for example, like in the dating stage of the relationship, how long is it usually, if there are 2 secure people, before they make a commitment and sort of enter into the honeymoon phase and get more long-term and serious and exclusive about a relationship? And in the honeymoon stage, how long does that last for before they go into the power struggle? And how do they navigate the power struggle more effectively, and what makes them secure? So we're going to go through some of these sort of high-level pieces here. And if you guys have any questions or comments, or you want to like dive more into a specific area, please feel free to leave those comments below, and I'll go through and I always sort of pull from there and pay attention and make further videos accordingly. So feel free to share anything that you want to hear. Lastly, we are super passionate about supporting our community right now. I know that a lot of people are kind of stuck at home, and it's kind of this quarantine time because of everything that's going on in the world. So we do have 25% off of all of our membership bundles, our 3-month I almost said prescriptions, our 3-month subscriptions, 6-month and 12-month subscriptions, and as well as our individual course purchases, like just the single course purchases. So they're super discounted right now. And then if anybody really wants to be a member of the school, we have our team working with people. So if you reach out to info@personaldevelopmentschool.com, our team is working to help identify your needs in this area and be able to support you however that works. So without further ado, let's talk about the 6 stages for secure people specifically. So first and foremost, I'm just going to give you a high-level overview. If you're not familiar already, the 6 stages of a relationship are the dating stage, and this is identified. I won't go into like the whole spiel of this for too long, but this was identified from Dr. Susan Campbell. She had the 5 stages of relationships from all these case studies of couples. But what I found personally is that she went right and started at the honeymoon phase. And there's a lot that goes into a relationship and relating before people get to the honeymoon phase. In fact, I see some people that never really make it past the dating phase. So I sort of separated that out and added another stage, and then went into specifically how these stages are impacted by different attachment styles and attachment traumas. And that's what the different courses for the advanced attachment style courses inside of the school are basically about. So, so first and foremost, we have the dating stage, we have the honeymoon phase, we have the power struggle stage that gets sort of the bad rap. However, the power struggle stage is essentially one of the most important stages because it's a space for tremendous growth. It's a rite of passage of relationships. It's a time where we get to integrate our sense of self into the relationship dynamic. And what that really prepares us for are the next 3 stages, being the stability stage, the commitment stage, and the bliss stage, which is sort of like the honeymoon stage all over again, except this time around, you have your full sense of self and you have a much deeper love. It's sort of like your love has much deeper roots at this point in the relationship because you've moved through so many things. You've been fully seen and understood by your partner in so many ways in order to progress that far into the relationship. And you've learned to see and accept and understand your partner and their flaws. And it's a much more unconditional type of love instead of I can't talk today. Instead of an infatuation-based love that you'll see more so in the honeymoon stage. So let's dive a little bit further into how the secure person operates. So one of the first things that we'll see is that the secure person is usually ready to make a commitment in the dating phase right around the 2 to 3 month mark. They usually don't go too far like before that. Like you're not going to see them really jump into something in a week or 2 weeks, or past the 3-month mark if they haven't really committed. Maybe 4 months, some of these secure outliers because of different things that could be going on in their life, having young kids, in the process of moving, sort of special circumstances, maybe doing a long distance relationship. But the average is really going to be right within that 2 to 3 month mark before there's some sort of moving into like an exclusivity, further deeper commitment in the relationship. Now, the reason for this is that around the first few weeks of dating, they're going to be assessing from both sides, which is a really healthy perspective. They're usually looking at you and they're like, what can I understand and find out about this person? Would this person fit into my life and my dynamics and what I need in a relationship? And will I fit into theirs? And they have a tendency, which is often different from some insecure attachment styles. They have a tendency to sort of look at both. Like, do I think that I could, fit into their life well and their lifestyle, and will I be able to meet their needs? And it's not from a people-pleasing perspective. It's sort of from this like detached in a healthy way, like not, I need this relationship to work at all costs. Will I be able to meet their needs? I have to change myself. It's not like that. It's like, could I see myself being able to show up as me and be accepted by them and also benefit their life, and vice versa? And there's this sort of education period in the dating phase for two secure individuals to really deeply try to understand each other. And in this phase, they have a lot of key things that come up. They tend to express themselves. They tend to practice a little bit of vulnerability to sort of see, like, how does this person respond to vulnerability? And these aren't necessarily conscious things. These are sometimes subconscious, like just their natural patterns of relating, which are quite healthy. They're not testing somebody, but they're trying to connect and they're seeing what comes of it. So they have some vulnerability. They tend to express their feelings. They tend to express their general needs. They tend to share about some of their fears during this time. They sort of try to get the opportunity to hear about your fears and learn more about your deeper self without oversharing right out of the gates or without undersharing and staying too protected. And so you'll see sort of this natural flow and fit in the dating phase. And then usually by the 2 to 3 month mark, they have enough information to make a healthy decision if they want to commit their energy to trying to focus more on their relationship and seeing it through, because they are aware that, hey, a relationship is a big commitment. It's not something to fear, but it's also not something to be taken too lightly. So they're not willing to give up their sense of self in their dating phase. They're good with their boundaries in the dating phase. They're expressive with them. They're not harsh and blunt, but they're expressive with them. Like, oh, I'm okay to do this, or oh, I'm not okay to do that. And these are all very healthy patterns of relating in the dating phase of a relationship. Now, in the honeymoon phase, and if you're curious about other phases and patterns at a high level, I do have videos on the other attachment styles in the 6 stages, and they're just sort of all high level type stuff, but check them out if you're curious. If you're like, oh, how long is it for the dismissive avoidant, or how long is it for the anxious in the dating phase before they're ready to commit? Like, you'll see there's all different timelines and patterns. And one of the biggest places we can have friction in our relationships is when our timelines and patterns are not matching up. So one person expects to, the anxious expects to be in the relationship and committed, in the first month or less in their perfect world. And the dismissive is like sometimes 6 months. And so obviously that's going to become a point of contention between two people quite easily. The next stage, the honeymoon phase, this usually lasts from about the 3 month mark until about the full 2 year mark for two secure individuals. They really stay present in this. They're really open. They're very receptive to love. They don't usually enter into any power struggle type issues because they're already sort of mitigating those things in advance, because they're expressing clearly, they're validating each other's feelings, they're good at active listening, they're both aware and clear of their boundaries, they're not like overgiving and then resenting, they're not giving up their sense of self so much in the honeymoon phase, so they're not on track to have a really heavy power struggle phase where the integration of the sense of self, when we're so dislocated from our sense of self. If you're an excessive people pleaser and you're super anxious and you've just disconnected from your sense of self, or a fearful avoidant that leans anxious, in these spaces, when you go into the power struggle and all of a sudden there's this subconscious urge to reintegrate your sense of self and your identity and your needs, they're going to be rockier roads relative to how far apart you are from having been truthful and bringing yourself into the relationship right out of the gates, not pleasing, not trying to impress too much, these sorts of things. So the honeymoon stage is usually a really beautiful, blissful time for secures. They really develop a deep and healthy bond. Again, there's just sort of like the expansiveness of more vulnerability, better boundaries, all these wonderful things. Now, in the power struggle stage, we do still see a power struggle. It does still happen, but we're not going to see necessarily like extreme emotional volatility. We're just going to see like sort of those bickering and those triggers and those things come out. Two secure people aren't like two angels that only know how to love unconditionally. Like, it's not like this perfection sort of magical, imaginative space. Two secure people are still human beings. They still do get triggered. They still have challenges. They still have problems. However, they are better naturally equipped with the tools to navigate these challenges because the way that they've been conditioned growing up says, hey, my feelings are worthy of being heard, because as young children, if they cried or expressed emotions, they were usually tended to as children. And so their attachment patterning was like, oh, when I express feelings, my needs get met. So it works. So it's safe and it's good to be vulnerable. It's good to express both my feelings and my needs because it works. And so they not only have the respect for those feelings and needs within themselves, but they naturally, because they respect those things, hold better space for others. So the power struggle stage, they will still have challenges. They will still have issues that come up. It's not perfect, but that integration is going to be a much smoother road. Okay. And what two secure people do very effectively that is different from all insecure attachment styles is they learn to really take themselves, and when I say themselves, I'm specifically referring to their feelings and needs, okay, or their emotional selves, and then their like physical orientation of self around their needs structure. They learn to take these things naturally into consideration while making decisions. So they're not sitting going, oh, what does my partner want from me? They're like, oh, I can see what my partner wants from me. How does that feel for me? Am I capable of giving that without violating a boundary within myself? And if I'm not, how can I sort of meet in the middle and make an effective compromise? And a lot of us think compromises are like sacrifices, like giving up ourselves, giving up our needs, and then expecting the other person to do the same. And when we get locked in that sort of cycle, things can become very painful and actually very toxic. It's sort of a codependent, enmeshed decision-making process. So it's really important that we show up for ourselves in this area. If you're trying to become more secure and practice some of these tools, that you learn to pause before you just jump into things or dive into things and really consider like, hey, what's right for me in this process? What works for my needs? And then learn how to communicate that effectively to somebody else so that you can meet in the middle and there's no self-sacrifice on either side. It's like really a symbiotic or a symbiotically beneficial relationship. So I feel like this is already becoming a long video. Maybe I'll do like a more expanded version of this. I just did a webinar on this the other day in the school, and it was like a very long webinar. There's a lot to say. But I will give you really quick high-level points for the stability, commitment, and bliss stages. Some of the rites of passage that secure people do very well is they're willing to have the tougher conversations in these areas. Like one of the rites of passage in the commitment stage is, hey, can we talk about our lifestyle and our needs and how we want to live and where we want to settle down and how we want to parent and what kind of house we want to live in and what type of neighborhood. They're aware and they naturally have these conversations ahead of time instead of like jumping into a commitment and then later being like, how do we figure out these decisions on the spot together? Or once we've already made the commitment, they assess these things ahead of time and they can sort of plan and move towards that lifestyle more easily. And also in the stability stage of the relationship, they also tend to have really good rituals of connection to stay strong. And all of these things together really prepare them to move into the bliss stage quite effectively. And two secure people usually have a very beautiful bliss stage. And the bliss stage is really lasting. Like it's not just your 3 months to 2 years, like the honeymoon phase. It's a really lasting space in the relationship that you can stay in for very long periods of time. Yes, you'll still have challenges as a couple. Yes, there will still be life things that happen, but you'll have prepared and sort of mastered all the tools to work through them and get there. So I hope that this is helpful. Please let me know in the comments below if there's anything else that I can put in here that you want to learn more about specifically. There is a lot more to say about the topic. But thank you for watching and thanks for being a part of our community and channel. And I am excited to see you in the next video.